Hello everyone and welcome back. This video was requested by California Glow, and as the title states, it's on bereavement and loss. I don't know much about her situation at all, not too much. So I'm going to start this off with a reading, and then I'll take it from there. This was written by a doctor. Her name is Wanda Binzer, and it's titled Grief, the Human Experience. Grief is a universal human experience, and all of us are familiar with the feelings of pain and sadness following a loss. We read about tragedies every day in the newspapers, see them on TV, hear about misfortunes from friends, or experience a loss of someone dear to us through illness or old age. Our culture tends to encourage us to ignore death and pain and promotes the myth that we can all be young, beautiful, and if we live right, happy forever. Many have read or heard of the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and other experts on dying and death. Thus, we are familiar with the stages of grief: shock, denial, rage, despair, and finally, acceptance. We may find reassurance in the fact that the terrain has been studied and there is a map on how to travel the areas that need to be passed on the road to our destination. For some, the travel is made easier by a strong faith, by a sense of meaning and purpose, and by the firm belief that they will meet their absent loved ones after death. At different times, many of us come into contact with grieving persons at a funeral, memorial service, or when visiting the bereaved, we offer caring words, compassion, practical help, and maybe even love. But then we are finished and go on with our lives. I was thrust into the world of senseless violence, grief, and anguish with the sudden news of the murder of my oldest child, an only daughter. It began with utter shock and disbelief and a slim hope that a mistake had been made. The shock and disbelief still catch me at times, even though 4 years have passed. And of course, a terrible mistake was made. Some cruel and misguided man ended the life of a young woman who loved life, people, and animals. She picked up stray puppies, loved children, had a radiant, sunny smile, and wanted to start a camp for mentally retarded and disabled children. A part of me was killed with her, and I will never be the same again. We all ask why. We become acutely aware of our vulnerability. The world suddenly becomes an unfair and dangerous place. Our sense of trust, order, and the belief that we should live a just and good life, and nothing bad will happen to us, are shattered. However, it is important to remember that we are all individuals, that our circumstances differ, as does the length and pattern of our grief. What we can offer those who are grieving is a caring acceptance of their special way of dealing with their anguish and a willingness to listen. Give Sorrow Words is a message of the self-support group, Parents of Murdered Children. Healing can be facilitated by telling one's story again and again, and by allowing oneself to experience pain, rage, and despair. Most of us do not realize our own strength and ability to cope. The resiliency and power of the human spirit are awesome. When I come into contact with families whose child has been murdered and experience the compassion and caring within the group, my faith in the human spirit is restored. I would say that probably the most important element that can help us in our grieving is that we treat ourselves with great kindness and that we do not set up unfair expectations of ourselves. Length of time, intensity of sorrow may be different for each of us. The different stages of grief follow no rigid order, and we need to give ourselves permission to experience our anguish in our own time, without deadlines or hurtful judgments. As we live through unimaginable heartbreak and sadness, it is a time for gentleness. It is a time to forgive ourselves our anger and self-centeredness. It is a time to allow ourselves to weep as long and as often as we wish. It is important not to allow society in general, our friends, mental health professionals, or the clergy in particular, to pressure us into getting on with the business of living and thus shortening or suppressing our grieving. Well-meaning people who expect the bereaved to become quickly functional, smiling, and cheerful again may do incredible harm and will certainly increase the feelings of loneliness, hurt, and alienation already present. It is important to grieve, to experience the pain, to weep, and to acknowledge the impact of our loss. To allow ourselves to grieve is healing in the long run. It enables us to put our lives together again as best as we can under the circumstances. Now, the person that was mentioned, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she designed the 5 stages of grief, one being denial. A person may try to shut out the reality of the situation for exchange of false reality. The second stage is anger, where a person becomes frustrated with their circumstance, and they may take out their anger on family and friends. Number 3 is bargaining. The person tries to negotiate the linking of their life with a higher power in exchange for being a better person. 4, depression. The person becomes very negative in their view of life and may start to believe that everything is pointless. 5 is acceptance. The person comes to terms with their situation and begins making plans. But these are subject to change, of course. This one was written for a person who knows they're going to pass away. But they also apply to the person who is grieving. And sometimes we may be going through 2 and 3 of these at the same time, sometimes all 5. So yeah, I hope you got something out of this, and I really do hope it helped. If not, leave in the comment section down below, and I can do other videos. You know, help each other out. I'm all for that, you know that. So that's it. That's all for now. Till next time, may you all stay blessed and beautiful, and ciao.